Good morning, everyone. It's a nice day today. I already woke up this morning with the spirits of what should I say, human growth. Insisting upon our growth today. And actually, this next lesson that they have brought to our attention is actually a very, very interesting one. Now, because of the processes that are involved, the wording that will be used might be a bit derogatory or just slang, so not so filtered, we'd say or processed, but essentially it's just conveying essentially a process of our existence. So what this comes down to being is this said multiple mornings already. I have awoken with a reflex, that I've tried to brush off, as natural, being basically, just call it a simple gag reflex, May you wake up early in the morning, you're not hydrated enough, your body might have a bit too much of saliva, First thing in the morning, you start getting active, and you don't go straight to water, but you start getting active, and essentially that puts pressure in the body. Pressures are what build up and activate other processes in the body. So essentially where I'm going with this is, have you guys ever noticed that when a person goes and relieves themselves, that there are certain aspects and attributes to your being at that moment that you are disregarding, probably because you think you're doing something nasty, or you think you're doing something that you shouldn't have, ponder in your mind or dwell in your mind, and it's not even that it's nasty, it's just relieving oneself, which is basically allowing for the body to, release any excess, what needs to be seen that way. So that excess is released. But again, that moment is a very specific and special moment. Because if you stop and you think about it, if we're psychic, right, and everything in our Genesis is telling us this, and the way we look at this aspect of our psychic ability is because in my seat of consciousness, I'm conscious, right? And from that same seat, I'm able to send signals to the rest of my body. Like right now, my hand is above my head, and that is through a psychic signal, but essentially processed through the body becomes a muscular signal, nervous system signal, but it all begins in the conscience, in the psychic plane. So, first thing in the morning, you wake up, and say if you've ever got like gag reflexes, or you just feel like your body is, not necessarily aligned like it should be. So there's certain things that stand out to you that are actually kind of disturbing to your physical state of being. Again, like I said, I myself have gone through this experience, where I wake up multiple mornings, or experience multitudes of my day, and I'm pretty much processing what I would then relay as, if my conscience sends me psychic signals, then if there's any other conscience that I would relay in the same way, sending me psychic signals, and thus causing a bit of conflict within my body, because then my body is having to process twice the signals, or 2 times as much signals, or even signals that could in other ways be disruptive, conflicting with each other, or who knows to what degree exactly. But essentially it starts with my psychic, my conscience. That's like the seed of consciousness, basically. So for us to navigate and manage ourselves, and for others, that's what they're hoping to reach, is your conscience. Because your conscience processes information, and then so far people have been dumbed down to think that they are their bodies, rather than this conscience psychic thing that is living inside of this thing, that is simply accessing it through all the psychic planes and means that are pretty much relevant to its self-processing and understanding what it is that it comprehends in such a degree. But ultimately, where I'm going with this is, it's like we have psychic in our blood, written in our being, in our faces. And all this time we've been practicing using one of its biggest moves, which is pretty much giving you that psychic slap of doubt that leads most people to confusion. Other people are so discouraged that they don't even dare to venture or figure stuff out for themselves. They just accept the feelings that someone felt for them inside during the process of somebody elaborating on an idea that then someone else as well was, working the perception that you should hold on the concept and the perspective necessarily that you would stand to hold as well in that. So essentially, this is another aspect, I just kind of wanted to clarify about, because this morning again, it's like, it's one thing to fight with myself. It's another thing when other things who have gone through the same fight that I'm fighting are intervening or interfering just because. Well, I couldn't really tell you why. I'd say just because, because if I was going to do it, I'd do it just because. But either way, so in the self-development of my conscience, all I'm doing is training and conditioning my body to process these cyclic signals, these physical expressions and impressions that I can then, press on forward with. So basically, it's my conscience practicing, how to teach another conscience how to do what I do as good as I do it alongside me, then thus equipping me with twice as much the conscience. That's if I don't want to, fight it or be an enemy to it or think of it as being anything other than my evolution, And on the other hand, it's already what I've already experienced, just to begin with. The process I'm told is my mom and my father combined together, came together, thus became one person, and in that one time, that moment of that expression of that one person, thus I was formed, and here I am. So if I don't have time to sit here and try to look at my immediate moment for an answer, someone I could blame, well, clearly I have it in my DNA, all the lanes, all the lines, all the information I need. So essentially, it's more of a, how can my other consciences, like myself, tune into my conscience, keep my conscience blind, because they've done it, my whole life. So they think that because apparently I myself haven't really insisted upon, doing anything other than what everyone else has done. And then if everyone else has failed miserably at basically processing themselves and putting themselves on a stand, on a butcher and cutting knife, or basically at the end of the guillotine, they all failed, None of them dared to chop off their own heads, So, and essentially, what it means to develop, to process, to become, to get to know yourself means exactly that, because the whole world, everything they pumped you in the beginning, all your school, all your upbringing was basically keeping you in a cage, bringing you to be in a box of comfortability and knowledge of what you know, and so that way you could, work in a different manner. Basically they helped you by creating a conscience for you and pushing you to the subconscious. And as long as you didn't know it, well, I could easily be that conscience sitting on top of you, and that all I'm doing is just sending signals to my body right now, so I can go and be in anybody else's conscience doing the exact same thing. If I want to make your life difficult, if I want to make you mad, if I want to make you angry, or if maybe I just want to say, hey, I went through it, I put myself through it, I thought maybe you should benefit like I did. Look how far I got. Look where I'm at, And essentially, I've become everything that I thought I hated, that I thought I didn't want to know, that I thought was essentially a waste of my time. And I mean, all along I was already using my time. There's really no wasting of time at all, honestly. But really, because, I mean, essentially time is not even the actual thing, which is a function for us to track and be able to maintain what is apparently essentially timely, so that's kind of where I'm at with this today. I just thought I'd share this a little bit with y'all. Hopefully it was enlightening, hopefully it was clarifying for some of y'all, and hopefully for some of y'all others, it was able to bring that peace to your heart that the whole reality around you has insisted that you had, and you didn't feel it because you're too busy being angry, being mad, being bothered, trying to run, trying to hide. But essentially all of reality has constantly been telling you that, hey, you've always had the answer. You've always been right where you needed to be. All you needed was somebody to pretty much just pull you right to that point where you can actually see, And if all I've done is reached inside of you from where I'm at using my evil skills or my evil perceptions or my evil, whatever it is, if it's even evil, my evil doubt, I'll say, my evil confusion. I mean, I don't know what to call it, because if it ain't good, then, I mean, I would just say something that failed at being good, so it's not even evil, because you got to be good to be evil. If you're not good, you're not evil. You don't even fucking land or even scratch the surface. So, I just want to make sure that I can clarify these points for some of y'all, because some of y'all been dragged through the dirt. Some of us have had our own, heads so far up someplace where we thought we might need some psychic ability to be able to get it out of there, So, again, I'm hoping that this was a great benefit to y'all, and I look forward to your guys' progress as well, and most of all, the evolution we all get to share in, if I'm being honest, you know? So y'all have a great and wonderful day. A great and wonderful rest of the day. There you go.